My name is Anna-Sofia Berner, and I work for Helsingin Sanomat, which is the biggest newspaper in Finland.
I spoke with Anna-Sofia about her life as a U.S. correspondent. She's been living and reporting in Washington, D.C. since January 2019. Anna-Sofia said she's seen an accelerated interest in the past few months regarding the presidential election from her Finnish readers.
But they really cared about the election and now what happens after the election.
Anna-Sofia shared the challenges of being a foreign correspondent.
As a U.S. correspondent for a Finnish newspaper, I have no access whatsoever in the U.S. to sort of major political players in any way. I've been to the White House once when the Finnish president was visiting, and that's it. I've talked to maybe one congresswoman, and so it's much less. I have much less access to original sources at the top on the top level.
Reporting in the U.S. versus Finland is very different. Anna-Sofia explained her approaches to finding sources.
Also in Finland, working for the leading paper, I can just call anybody and tell them that I'm from here, and they know who I am, and it has some weight. Whereas here, nobody knows what Helsingin Sanomat is or who I am. And I think that sort of leads the coverage a lot, because I have to start it from a completely different angle, and this leads to me talking a lot to voters, regular people, academics, people I can reach.
Since getting interviews with well-known politicians is tough, Anna-Sofia said the best part about being a U.S. correspondent is speaking with voters.
It's not just the access. I think that's what our readers also care about. Of course, from time to time, they would I would love to interview Michelle Obama or anybody sort of a big name, but then they don't know who the senators are. Even if I had sort of access to these big names, they wouldn't mean that much for our readers, whereas they do want to know what regular Americans think and how they feel and what's their life like. So I really enjoyed this, even despite the pandemic, this fall when I traveled a lot to many of the swing states and talked to voters.
Anna-Sofia said the pandemic has also created challenges with finding sources since there are less people out and about.
Pandemic is hard because then when I don't have if people don't write me back, for example, we just go someplace and start talking to people, but there are way less people.
When I asked about her view of the U.S. news media, she had conflicted feelings.
I think it's the best in the world, and at the same time, it's very, very annoying at times. I think I get a lot of even my readers ask me, or those who follow me on social media, they sort of ask me how come it's so polarized, and how come what they ask me what sources can I trust, etc. And I sort of have to remind them that a lot of the best journalism in the world comes from the U.S. Even though there is this huge polarization, especially in cable news, but there's still amazing journalism being done.
Regarding her Finnish readers' view of Donald Trump and Joe Biden, their opinions on who the next president should be are pretty clear.
Yeah, 3 out of every 4 Finns in this poll that we made would have wanted Biden to be the president, and Trump, 10% supported Trump.
Anna-Sofia described how the unexpected responses to the election were expected.
I just wrote this column where I said that it really went the way everyone was expecting. Biden won, which was expected, and then Trump is declining to accept that, and that was also to be seen. So that's not really surprising, but I think the hard part is how to cover what Trump is doing, because it's so unexpected and we don't really know what the impact will be.
Now that the election is over, Anna-Sofia walked me through what she does on a typical day.
Now after the election, I'm feeling a little lost because it was so intense, and now I'm trying to find sort of a normal schedule again. There's been a big change in how our correspondents do their jobs. I know that I do way less sort of daily news, and I'm left with more sort of analysis and then like journalism that can only be done from the US. Now I'm working on two stories. One is sort of just talking to a couple of experts about his situation with Trump declining to accept the election results and what's going to happen, sort of a think PC story based on these interviews. And then the other one is about a woman who's part of one of the vaccine clinical trials. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Shifting topics to the pandemic, Anna-Sofia described how she decides what stories to cover.
The election was so overwhelming. I feel like I should do more COVID stories now and more sort of humane level personal stories on COVID. And then that depends on what kind of people I manage to reach out to.
To end our discussion, Anna-Sofia shared what she loves about journalism.
Almost everything. Like I rarely, I can't imagine doing anything else, and I'm happy that it's not easy these days. So I'm really happy that I can be doing what I'm doing.